Hi, my name is Brian Riggs, and this series is called Spanish Guitar Techniques. In this series, we're going to look at the different techniques you can use to kind of get that Spanish kind of flamenco, classical Spanish guitar sound, mostly focusing on the techniques of the right hand. So in this first lesson today, we're going to talk about right hand basics and kind of using arpeggios to kind of get that Spanish sound. So the song that we're going to look at is a really famous, really popular piece called Leyenda. It's by the Spanish composer Isaac Albéniz. It has this really famous melody. Maybe familiar from the song Spanish Caravan by The Doors. But we're going to kind of talk about how we can use some techniques of the right hand to really give it that cool Spanish sound. So I'll play it for you, and we'll kind of break it down and see the different techniques that are going on with the right hand. So I'm going to start with the melody down here, kind of doing, and it's going to switch, so I'm going to add more notes to the accompaniment part. So here's Leyenda. Alright, so let's take a look at the techniques that we use in this song. So in Spanish guitar music, the guitarists use their fingers to pluck all the strings. So for this song in Leyenda, what the guitarist typically does is use their thumb to play the melody. And the melody is kind of in the bass, so it's on the bass strings. And it really has a nice tone in this part of the guitar to kind of be higher up on the fretboard, but to be on the bass strings. So see if you can use your thumb to kind of like a hockey stick, kind of flicking off of the string. You want to try to avoid kind of having your thumb kind of do this kind of deal where it kind of moves from this joint. Just kind of really relaxedly moving from there. Now in the first section of the song, what I do for an accompaniment is I use my index finger to play the B string open after every thumb note. So we're kind of going back and forth between thumb, index. That's kind of a really good technique to start with for the right hand, because it kind of forces you to kind of move back and forth between these two sides of your hand. You're kind of basically handing off between the different fingers. Now in guitar music, in Spanish guitar music I should say, we kind of notate our fingers. The thumb is P, the index finger is I, the middle finger is M, and then the ring finger is A, and really don't use the pinky that much. Now if you have a different system of playing, sometimes people say T for the thumb, which makes sense. You can totally use that. Just realize that I'm using these this notation. And so these come from the Spanish names for these fingers. So P is pulgar, I is indice, M is medio, and A is angular. So I'm going P, I, but you can totally use PM or PA, whatever's more comfortable for you. It's kind of good to kind of fool around with different ones and see what works best for you. So the next part where it gets kind of crazy with all those fast notes is what I'm going to do. I'm still playing the thumb on the melody, on the bass strings, but it's kind of changing now. So what I'm doing is having my pinky of my left hand holding down the 7th fret of the high E string, so that B note, and I'm also playing the B string open, so it's kind of like 2 octaves of the letter B. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the melody with my thumb, and then I'm going to play 2 accompanying notes with the fingers. So in my case, I like to use index and then the ring finger, or I and A. But if you want to use I and M, or M and A, whatever's most comfortable for you, kind of fool around with a bunch of different combinations and see what works for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that pinky held down the entire time. And then I'm going to use my 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the A string to play that first melody note. So let's kind of walk through the melody here. So go P, I, A. And next I put my index finger and kind of reach back here to the G string on the 4th fret and grab another B. So it's like all 3 B's here, a lot of B notes. So you have B with the thumb. Then I use my index finger on the B string open, so it's a unison, the same notes of P, I. So I'm doing 3rd string, 2nd string, 1st string. So we go this guy, and what I do, most people do this, is like slide their index finger up a fret to the C, and keep that pattern going of P, I, A, or P, I, M, whichever you prefer. And then go over here to the third finger on the 7th fret. Back to this B over here. Now what I like to do is let go, play the G open, and back where we started. So let me walk through that whole thing without stopping here. So you have 7th fret, A string, 4th fret, G, 5th fret, G, 7th fret on the D string, back to 4th fret, G, G open, do it one more time, 4th fret, G, 5th fret, G, 7th fret on the D string, 4th fret, G, G open. So you can kind of get that pattern going. So you kind of hold down that pinky the whole time, and you're kind of using that as kind of a pivot to kind of get those different notes. So with the right hand, we're going to go P, so when you're moving from the right hand, see if you can move from that knuckle joint. If you think of your finger like a leg, you kind of want to propel yourself back here. This is like the hip. You want to kind of propel yourself from the hip joint. So you're kind of moving from there. Now these other little joints, they're going to move a little bit, but they almost kind of like, they're more reactionary. Like this is the guy that's like pushing the finger, and he's just relaxing. And then you just want to kind of go in towards the palm of your hand, and then just be really relaxed. So as soon as you're done playing the note, I tell my students, you kind of want to empty out your finger. You just kind of want to relax back to where it was. If you kind of hold your hand down at the side, you'll notice that it just kind of has this kind of natural curve to it. That's kind of the position you want when you're finger picking, whether you're doing classical or fingerstyle or blues or jazz or anything else. So your fingers are just kind of like nice and like really nice and relaxed. They just kind of automatically come back to where their normal position is. And then last thing I'll leave you with is that when you're playing, see if you can get your thumb to play, and wait until it's done playing until you put your index finger on the string. A lot of times people think, oh, I can get that ready in advance, but actually that kind of like what it does is it kind of sends a signal to your brain. It kind of blocks your thumb from moving as relaxed as you can. So give it a shot. Start with this guy here and doing just kind of 1 and 2 and. So basically just the melody and one note in between. In this section, we do the melody and 2 notes. So try using this right hand technique on any kind of chord progression or song that you're already playing. So you can kind of use, if you're playing like an A minor chord, for example, you can do P, I, A. And a great exercise is to kind of move the thumb around. And kind of make up your own patterns. See which finger combinations you really like, and which combinations are maybe a little harder, so you can have practice them a little more, so you can get better at them. But I hope you found something useful. Good luck, and thanks for watching.